Samsung's 2022 Unpacked event is this Wednesday, February 9th, at least if you're in the US, and with it, Samsung is of course set to announce their latest lineup of Galaxy S phones, their yearly flagship series. And after killing the Note lineup last year, many Note users, such as myself, are wondering what Samsung is going to do to atone for killing the Note with the S22 Ultra. So let's talk about what I'd like to see out of their latest flagship phone. So starting us off, let's talk about the battery. And if you watched my previous video about how the Note 20 Ultra was doing about a year later, that came out earlier last year, then you know that my biggest complaint about the device is and still remains the battery. At launch, the battery wasn't stellar in the first place, and it's only gotten worse with time. So my biggest wish with the S22 Ultra is that the battery gets bumped up from the current 45 milliamp hour battery that was in the Note 20 Ultra, maybe up to 5,000 or 5,500 milliamp hours. Just because, yes, it'll make for a thicker device, but Samsung is already making a thicker device with the Ultra, especially if they include the S Pen inside, because the S Pen needs that extra thickness in the body, and subsequently, there's a lot more room for the battery. Plus, people just don't mind a thicker phone in general either. I don't know why companies are so averse to that. My next point, which is the screen. Now, the screens on Samsung phones are fantastic. I don't think Samsung will downgrade the screen. However, when the Note 20 Ultra released, it was incapable of doing 120Hz and WQHD, essentially 1440p, and it was a slap in the face because just 6 months later, when the S21 Ultra came out, it was capable of doing 120Hz as well as WQHD. Thanks, Samsung. $1,300 device, can't even run at a high refresh rate. As I said, the screen, in terms of the color science, the adjustments, everything, all look fantastic, and I only predict it'll get better with the S22 Ultra, and Samsung's gotten really good about making the edges, the curved edges, kind of blend into the back of the phone really well, and I personally don't mind the bent edges. I've lived with a phone with that for many years now, so I'm pretty used to it, and I kind of hope they keep it. It gives a really unique look and feel to the device. And moving on from the screen, let's talk about the biggest, most obvious feature that Samsung will probably want to merge from the Note lineup to the S22 Ultra, and that is the S Pen. For starters, the S Pen needs to be completely integrated into the phone's body as it is in the Note right now on the S22 Ultra. If they keep it separate like they had to with the Fold and everything, I really don't think that's going to work out, and Samsung is going to lose a lot of users because of that. Furthermore, Samsung is rumored to have been improving the S Pen latency more. They made a huge leap with the release of the Note 20 Ultra. They kind of took a break with the S21 because the S Pen was essentially an add-on for all of Samsung's phones last year's, but now this year it looks like they're making those significant improvements again, and those latency improvements combined with a high refresh rate screen are going to make for a chef's kiss experience. The next topic of conversation is going to be the camera. So let's talk about the camera. I'm not a huge camera guy. I really don't take photos with my phone all that much. I think the standard array of cameras, sensors that we have on phones nowadays between the standard, portrait, and telephoto lens are all fine features for every normal user, and there's really no saying that Samsung will get rid of that. They don't really have a reason to get rid of that, so it's a good bet that that's going to be standard on the phone. However, what I do wish they would fix about their camera is the shutter delay. That drives me nuts because I'm waiting for sometimes a good couple seconds before the photo is actually taken, which can be really annoying if you're trying to capture just the perfect moment, the perfect scene. A Kodak moment, if you will. And on top of the shutter delay fix, I'm also seriously hoping that Samsung tones down the beautification processing of faces, because the image processing, especially on faces, just smooths out blemishes and everything, and it creates this sort of effect where I guess it technically looks prettier in the sense of, you know, the face is more smooth, more uniform and everything, but to actual person's subjective eye, that doesn't make for the best photo. And something like a $500 Pixel 5 that doesn't have that beautification feature is going to take what people perceive to be a much better photo of a face. And quite frankly, a phone that costs $500 should not take better pictures than a phone that costs north of $1,000. And as I said before, I'm not really a camera guy, so that's kind of the end of my camera wish list. So moving on to the next bit is software upgrades. Whenever Samsung launches the new S lineup at the beginning of every year, they usually give it the One UI 0.1 update at launch ahead of their currently existing phones. The 0.1 versions of One UI always carry with it some pretty noticeable improvements in bug fixes, and I'm hoping that's no different this time around, especially considering that Android 12 has not been the greatest release. This thing has such a hard time connecting to my home Wi-Fi, it is insane. So hopefully that gets ironed out, and Samsung has always been very good about smashing bugs and even adding features ahead of the mainline Android releases, so I really hope that trend continues with One UI 4.1 and beyond with the rest of the updates we get this year. And finally, let's talk about the price. I'll just go flat out and say it. The S22 Ultra cannot cost $1,300 for the base model like the Note 20 Ultra did. People complained that, yeah, $1,300 is a bit much for a base model of a phone when the Note came out, and the price has not aged well over time, especially considering that Samsung will barely even let you trade in a Note 20 Ultra as it stands right now. So the S22 Ultra definitely cannot cost $1,300. Samsung can't get away with it again.
You can't keep getting away with it!
It needs to punch in at around $1,100 at most, I would say. Being right at $1,000, I think, would be this really nice sweet spot and would kind of start to undercut Apple a little bit, but I think they could get away reasonably with $1,100. Would I pay $1,100 for an S22 Ultra? Yeah, probably would. Although Samsung might not listen and might punch in at $1,200 or the dreaded $1,300 because Samsung seems to have this air about them that by essentially being the only realistic Android competitor, at least in the North American market, they can get away with whatever price they want because it's pretty much the only option for people who don't want an iPhone, at least for normies. And with the Android competition only getting weaker, you know, Pixel 6s are very buggy if you get a lemon, which the lemons seem to be quite common. OnePlus has kind of gone down the drain in recent years, and, well, LG bit the dust last year. So Samsung is realistically the only competitor that still carries with it any sort of premium brand in the Android space nowadays. So hopefully they don't let their heads get too big and price the S22 Ultra reasonably well. But with that final note on pricing about the S22 Ultra, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you would personally like to see with the S22 Ultra, and if you think Samsung will be able to meet everyone's expectations and successfully merge the S line with the Note line, as well as if you're excited for the next array of folding phones or flip phones that they might come out with. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, hit that notification bell so you know every time we upload. We try to upload twice a week. And make sure you check out the rest of our channel, including our podcast, Pass the Salt, recorded live every Saturday at 1 p.m. Arizona time. You don't have to do that conversion yourself, because Arizona doesn't change daylight savings. I know, novel concept. And if you'd like to check us out on other platforms besides YouTube, we have an Instagram at tech_for_thought and Twitter at tech_4_thought. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Got an iPhone?
Hater.